Not all Bluey stories are happy ones, especially when we're talking about Chili's mom. Are you ready to discover a little more about Bluey's unknown grandmother? Cancer. Unfortunately, we know that Chili's mother lost her life after a terrible illness. Mrs. Cattle passed away after fighting cancer. We know this because the only episode that talks about her is called Dragon. The word dragon is a way of referring to this illness, and the fact that she died this way is incredibly sad because we know how much Mrs. Cattle's family suffered throughout the entire fight against this disease, a fight that sadly she lost. But we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this character, who will probably be one of the most important characters in season 4, even though she is already in heaven. Do you doubt it? We have a lot to talk about today. So grab your popcorn and get comfy on the couch. Another Cinewave is starting. Pepper. We have some new information about Mrs. Cattle's name. She is called that because it's her married last name, but there's a clue about what her real name might be. We believe that Chili's mother might be named Pepper, and that makes perfect sense. For those who don't know, Mrs. Healer's name Chili is a reference to a very famous spicy sauce around the world. And if you like spicy food, that sauce is delicious. She has that name because of her color, since Chili is a red healer. Now, Mrs. Cattle might be named Pepper because that means pepper in the original language, and it's also the main ingredient in chili sauce. In other words, there's a lot of Mrs. Cattle in her youngest daughter, both the good traits and the bad ones. But stay tuned, we're going to call Mrs. Cattle Pepper, okay? Artist. Mrs. Pepper was definitely an artist. That's because when Chili was a child, we saw a memory scene from Bluey's mom where she says the following: "Your drawing is actually really bad, but it's great for a child. Just keep practicing and don't give up." Let's be honest here. No one would tell a child their drawing is bad. In the episode Perfect, we saw how upset Bluey was when she found out her drawing wasn't perfect like Bingo's. Pepper must have said that to Chili because she knew how to draw properly, and that makes sense since in the episode Dragon, only Chili's drawings were actually good. It was her mother who taught her how to draw, and it wasn't just the horse drawing, which was what Chili was trying to make. Chili draws everything really well. Could Pepper have a famous painting in a museum somewhere? We think so, but it's a shame she passed away, because Mrs. Cattle had everything it took to teach Bluey how to draw well, don't you agree? Final scene. In the final scene of the episode Dragon, we have a very interesting moment where Chili says goodbye to the horse and it grows wings and flies up to the sky. In this scene, Chili talks to the horse as if it were her mother, and Mrs. Healer asks a suspicious question. "You're not coming with us, are you?" Chili probably asks this because her mother passed away before she learned how to draw a perfect horse, which is very sad because Mrs. Cattle never got to see her daughter succeed. Do you remember that Chili started learning how to draw when she was a child and that her mother told her not to give up? That's very interesting because Chili went on to draw forests and many other things. Pepper said Chili's drawing was good for a child but not good for an adult, and when Chili became an adult, she started drawing really well. And since we know that Mrs. Cattle passed away when Chili was still a child, her mother never got to see how good her drawings became. That's very sad because Chili's mother missed out on so much of her life. So much. And that's one of the things that is deeply missing in Mrs. Healer's life, and it even answers a lot about the future of the series. Are you excited for season 4 of the series? Comment the hashtag Bluey so we can get to know you. Daughters. You know that Chili has 2 daughters, but unfortunately she lost a pup at the beginning of her relationship with Bandit, Bluey's father, and that is completely confirmed. We also know that Chili's older sister Brandy has a big dream that she will finally achieve in season 4, which is becoming a mother. This dream is so strong for her that she couldn't even look at her nieces, and didn't visit Chili for over 4 years. If Brandy wants to be a mother so badly but has never been able to, until now, then that suggests that getting pregnant might be a family issue. Look, both Cattle sisters, Chili and Brandy, had difficulties having children, and that could point to their mother's health. Mrs. Cattle may be the source of this issue. We already know she had a health problem, and because of that, we believe she may have lost many other pups before having her 2 daughters. And look how interesting this is. Mrs. Cattle, whom we call Pepper, had 2 daughters before she passed away. Just like Chili. Don't you think Brandy looks at her sister and sees their mother? Could it be that Brandy is afraid Chili might get sick and leave her daughters without a mother, just like what happened to them in the past? Could that be why she dreamed of having children but couldn't? Whatever the truth is, we know that Mrs. Cattle must have gone through a lot of pain when she lost her first pups, and that is very sad. Horses. Mrs. Cattle also loved horses, which are some of the most beautiful animals in the world, and she had a horse, as we can see in a photo inside the Healer house during the episode Obstacle Course. In that photo, we can clearly see she did have a horse, and something interesting is that this image appears in more than 30 episodes before we we actually learn about Mrs. Cattle in the dragon story. And that's really interesting because if we consider that Chili wanted to draw a horse, it must be because she knew one, the same animal we see in that photo. But as we've already shown you, Pepper passed away very young and didn't see her daughters grow up. That means her horse was left without its owner, and that alone would already be very sad. But there's another possibility that is even worse. What if Chili's mother actually lost that horse? Don't believe it? Let's think about the episode Copycat, when Bluey went through the grief of losing a bird. Our protagonist asked Bingo to pretend to be the bird that died, meaning she processed grief through imagination. Now, why was Chili in that memory so sad about not being able to draw a horse? She might have been grieving that day, using her imagination to draw a horse because the one she knew had gone away. Just like the horse in the dragon episode's final scene. See? Everything connects. Husband. You know that Chili's father, Pepper's husband, was a soldier, right? We have an image of him dressed as a soldier in the photo hanging in the Healer living room. And if you pay attention to Rusty's family, we can see that he doesn't spend much time at home because of his job. And if that same idea applies to Chili's family, then her mother raised the daughters almost on her own. Grandpa Mort is a dog who must have spent a lot of time away from home. And since the beginning of today's video, we've explained that Mrs. Cattle had a health problem. What does that mean? Raising the daughters was not easy at all. And because of that, Chili's parents' marriage may have been difficult. Marriage. If Chili and Brandy were raised by a sick mother and a father who was away from home because he was a soldier, how do we imagine their marriage was? It's very possible that Pepper and Mort were not a happy couple. They didn't even spend much time together. Let's be clear. In the Healer house, we do have an image of the Cattle family united and happy. But were the problems in Chili's family bigger than the love they had for each other? That is still a mystery. The subscribe button is right there, waiting for you. How about clicking and keeping up with everything we post? Alone. In the episode Granddad, when Bluey and Bingo went to visit Grandpa Mort, we discovered that Chili used to spend a lot of time in the swamp near where she lived as a child. So much so that we see there is a tree trunk with her name carved into it. Chili wrote that when she was just a little girl, but something Grandpa says that gets everyone curious is when he says that Chili knows that swamp like no one else. Let's remember that swamps are dangerous places, which means leaving a child alone there is not a good idea. And what does that have to do with Chili's mother? Everything. Chili spent so much time in the swamp because she didn't want to stay at home. And she couldn't stay at home because her family was suffering a lot for all the reasons we've already explained. The swamp was a place Chili escaped to, do you understand? Her mother's suffering was too much for the youngest daughter to handle. That is terrible. Grandmother. Another very sad thing about Mrs. Cattle's story is that she passed away early and didn't get to see her daughters' weddings, much less the birth of her granddaughters. You already knew that, of course, but it's a very sad detail in her life, because Mrs. Cattle should have been part of Bluey and Bingo's lives, and especially this new baby that is coming as Brandy's pup. It's because of this baby that Pepper will be the main character of Season 4, Granddaughter. Mrs. Cattle had 3 granddaughters, with this last one about to be born in the new episodes, and we are sure it will be a girl, and that her name will be the same as her maternal grandmother. In other words, her name will be Pepper. Aunt Brandy is Mrs. Cattle's oldest daughter, and unfortunately, she is the one who suffered the most from losing her mother. Chili's sister always dreamed of having children, and now that she is finally going to achieve that dream, she won't have her greatest example of a mother by her side. Of course, we also know that Brandy is very afraid of being a mother. She's afraid of doing it wrong. But the new baby is coming no matter what, and because of that, the memory of Chili's mother will be important. Brandy will remember Pepper and will name her daughter in honor of her mother, giving up. During the scene where Pepper tells Chili to never give up, we see the birth of Bluey's most important trait. Our protagonist never gives up. She is always learning and always sees the bright side of things. This was something Chili taught her, and it will stay with Bluey forever. That's why, even though Mrs. Cattle is no longer alive, we know she is extremely important to the entire Bluey series. And that is beautiful to see, don't you agree? And if you want to discover more about Bluey, stay with us. The fun doesn't stop here. There are 2 amazing videos waiting for you on the screen. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.